and basically took us to the Rose Bowl with like a minute and a half left. It was like the most incredible play.
Yeah,
And
that sounds like something that would have been against Wazoo, but
it was. Oh, are we live, guys?
Yeah, John made us live, but we can still chat for a little bit and see if Jason pops in there. So.
Okay, I'll stop talking Oregon football.
No, it's actually fine because I'm trying to think. So when were we all in the Pac-10? Because I started in '94, and that's when I went to Oregon State. And I would have gone to Oregon had they had a baseball team, but I still had dreams of walking on, and they had no baseball team.
I was University of Oregon for my master's, '93 to '96.
Right. Okay.
So I got to Wazoo '88 and left in '93.
So we all had some overlap.
Yeah, we did. There's a little overlap of it all down there.
Yeah, I had some slight dreams of walking on to play baseball too, but there was a catcher there at the time named Bo Campbell, who then got followed up by Scott Hatteberg. No chance.
Try to walk on at first base there. Yeah, that wouldn't have gone well for you.
Yeah, Olerud. I watched Olerud play. In fact, I've got a bunch of videotapes that I'm going to be getting converted, and one of them is from when ESPN was at WSU for a baseball game against Cal, and we're up in the stands. But yeah, man, WSU had some really, really great baseball teams back in the day. They just never broke through to the College World Series.
But that was it. That was the place to go because you went to Wazoo if you were a baseball player, and it wasn't.
Yeah, remember the Banana Belt tournament every winter? Remember that down in the Tri-Cities? It's funny that like baseball and like Lewiston is a hot spot for baseball. There's some really funky little baseball hot spots around the Northwest.
Do you think that's because of like Mel Stoudemire and they used to have all the baseball camps out there?
Definitely down in Yak.
Yeah.
But WSU had Bobo Brayton coaching there for over 20 years. 3,000 win guy or 300 win guy, whatever it was, whatever number it is, 1,000 win guy.
I'm going to throw you guys a name. I'll throw you guys a name you either know from college baseball or you knew as card collectors, which is before I went to Oregon. I did my undergrad at Cal Berkeley, and so I was there with Kevin Moss.
I just sent a bunch of Kevin Moss cards to my buddy, the other half of T and Tops.
Yeah, it was cool. He came. He was with the Yankees already. He had his huge year, I think, when I was a senior at Cal, maybe. Yeah, but he came back for an alumni game, and I got an autograph on his 1990 Leaf. So there was a stretch where that was my most prized baseball card. Sure. And
brief window.
Another name you might know from back then was Jerry Goff, because his son Jared Goff was the Rams QB. Now he just moved to Detroit Lions. So we had some players back then.
Nice.
Yeah,
it'd be funny. I got to get those tapes digitized. That probably was like 90 or it probably was like 89.
It would have been. So Olerud graduated Interlake Lake in '86. So I went to the same high school as Olerud. That's why I know about Olerud. So I'm always a big fan of him. So he graduated Interlake Lake in '86. So he would have been, 86 through 89 or 90 through Wazoo.
Yeah, I think 89 was his last year.
I should check. I got his rookie card up here. There you go. There's a 1990 Don Riss up there. So now 89 was his last year.
He's the pride of WSU baseball. Before him, it was Doug Sisk. Did you see me post that Doug Sisk card a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. That was back in the day. Yeah. Everyone went to Wazoo, and I liked Oregon. I would have gone to the baseball team, but there's no baseball team. So I wanted to get as far away as I could from the whole Wazoo UW rivalry. That was my whole plan.
I just wanted to go to school. WSU had very low standards back then. I don't know that they've raised them all that much.
I would have loved to play collegiate baseball, but it turned out there just were no spots that didn't involve hitting, fielding, running, or pitching. That kind of took me out of the game.
Yeah, I found just a really great niche as a slow pitch softball player, and just really followed that route.
Yeah.
Hold on. Garcia
Yeah,
Studio saying that
myself.
they can't see the live feed, so hold on. Okay, yeah, we're live. I'll share the link to the guy, and we'll get started here.
Right on.
I think third J is not going to show up, so we'll have to take it from there.
I hit him up 3 ways.
There we go. It should.
Yeah,
work.
we are. It looks like we're down a Jason. So we've gone down a Jason, but Tad has very generously become a Jason
Yes.
for
So
40 minutes or so to make up the numbers. Hello again, everybody. We're back for our second show today. Jason, it's been a while since we've pulled double duty, but here we are. This is Ballcaps and Bagpipes in association with the NLBMArt website. I am John McKellar of the Glasgow Comets from the Glasgow Baseball Association.
I'm Jason Durer, former president, and John likes to point out that I am Hall of Famer as well. But I'll downplay this and say former president works that way. So glad to be back. It's been a while since we've had anyone from the art scene on, so it's good to see what's going on and what's happening because it's been a while.
Yep, and we're joined by a couple of fine gentlemen, a fantastic guest, and Jason Schwartz of Heavy J Studios. He's back with us.
What's up?
Hey, man. And of course, we have Tad Richardson. Thank you for joining us tonight. We've got some updates on the progress of the NLBMArt community. It's been a while since I've said that, guys, so go easy. At least I don't fuck her name up like you do, Jason.
I don't even try it anymore. I just just mumble over it, and I'm the Bob Dylan of Scottish baseball podcasting. Just kind of mumble through it. We'll be okay there. Exactly. Yeah.
Jason, I think nobody in Scotland can understand you anyways with that thick accent. No matter what you say.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, we actually have an American guy, Wolfie. It's been here for so long that nobody understands him anymore.
Wolfie doesn't really sound like an American. He has like an odd kind of, I don't know what you would call his accent. Actually, it's like a really weird, just chuchtery almost. In a way, I thought
you have to explain what a tutor is. Yeah, exactly. Half the audience will understand what you're talking about. Other half the audience will be like, "What is he on about?"
Yeah. So a chuchter is like a Highlander. So people from the north of Scotland and stuff like that, they speak slightly differently than us kind of lowland peasants. So they're known as chuchters. I don't know. Is that an endear? Is a term of endearance, or is that an insult? Who knows? I'll let chuchters be the judge of that, shall I? Let's move on to baseball talk. So, Negro League Baseball art community. Tad, why don't you give us an update on the progress that we've had recently? Obviously, it's been a wee while since we've had one of these get-togethers. So you've got, I think, some pretty interesting information regarding the things that have been happening in the last couple of months, and obviously, certainly what's coming next.
Yeah, I think last time we were on with Brian Patterson of the Buck Leonard Association, right?
Yeah, that's the last one. Yep.
Yeah. So, the work just continues with them. We've really, I'm all in with them to do whatever they need. I'm on a mission to direct the kind of resources and funding to them that can help them develop their STEAM programming. They are incredibly inspiring, what they do. And so we're really all in on helping them. And the next cool thing that's coming up with them is this Negro Leagues webinar on April 24th. And we are bringing together a group of 4 former Negro Leagues players. These are all guys who played in the late 50s and were kind of around when they came to an end, and they were coached by and mentored by some of the greats. So they were on the buses and in the dugouts with some of the biggest names that we all know and have heard of. and this really unique perspective of what it was like to kind of have your dream cut short, when and really what it meant when after the integration of baseball. It wasn't really pretty for the Negro Leagues. So really neat perspective, and frankly the only one that we get anymore. These guys aren't they're not going to be around much longer, and so it's a really unique opportunity to sit with 4 of them. And we were talking earlier, moderated by Ernie Suggs, who has a really unique tie to the Buck-Leonard Association. He's a journalist with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, but also a graduate of Rocky Mount High School and a classmate of Brian's and his younger brother. He was also a bat boy of the Rocky Mount Pines, which was a minor league team in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, that for whom Buck-Leonard was an executive. So really neat panel coming up again, April 24th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Tickets are on sale right now on Eventbrite. And to incentivize ticket sales, we've got a number of different things going on, including this great art giveaway, for which several of the artists in the NLBMArt community are participating, including Mr. Schwartz, who's here with us tonight. We hope to have Jason McKinney with us as well. Jason McKinney of Hall of Fame Replicas, but had some wires crossed there. So I'm kind of standing in. But anyway, we really want to get, they have a goal of getting 100 people signed up for this webinar. The donations that are coming in for the webinar are being directed to their RBI Youth Baseball program, which provides free baseball for up to 300 kids a year in Rocky Mount, and from ages 6 to 15. So that's what they've been doing for over 20 years now, is running youth baseball leagues. And from that, they've grown to incorporate a bunch of different educational enrichment programming that we talked about last time. So really incredible family doing really incredible work in a really difficult area. And again, really inspiring work, and I hope that people will support them.
Fantastic. So Tad, you mentioned 11 a.m. Pacific, was that the start time? So that's on April 24th. That would be 7 p.m. UK time, if I'm not mistaken. Jason, you know Pacific time zone better than I do.
Yes, that's 8 hours, yes. So we're all right there.
So
4 o'clock Eastern. 4 o'clock Eastern.
4 Eastern, yeah. What is it? What was the voice on the TV? Yeah, commercials like 4 Eastern, 4 Eastern, proof is every. Yeah, I always found that funny. For some reason, when I was a kid, they would do the Eastern and then Central, but it would be like immediately after. It would be like, they'd say Eastern and then it would be and three Central. It's like, okay, whatever. But it's nice only having one time zone to worry about through that way. So Tad, we will have to get the link off you later, and we'll pop the link to the tickets on our Facebook and Twitter socials and stuff like that. What are you most looking forward to, or is there anyone on the panel that you're most looking forward to hearing?
You know, well, I'm told that Larry LeGrand is a bit of a character. We were on a call with them. In fact, I've got a call with them this evening, so I might be able to answer this question better later. But we had a call with them a few weeks ago just to kind of begin some prep, and Larry told a story where he received a phone call. It really was just a few months ago now. Received a phone call, thought it was somebody, and started having this conversation as if it was who he thought it was, and then realized mid-conversation that it was actually Charlie Pride. And who he had played with in the Negro Leagues. And then this turned out to be just a couple of weeks before Charlie Pride passed away. So anyway, I'm really just interested in hearing from all of them, frankly. I think it's a really, really neat perspective that these guys bring. And frankly, I think that it's one that doesn't get voice, you know. So it's really neat that the Buck-Leonard Association brought this group of guys together to really help them and tell their story.
Amazing. Heavy J, I'll ask you the same question. Is there anyone in particular on the panel that you're looking forward to hearing?
You know, I'm going to say all of the above, and I'm going to make a little bit of a pitch here, even beyond what Tad said, which is, I think for a lot of fans here in the States, and maybe same in the UK, an introduction to just the wonderful stories of the Negro Leagues came through the Ken Burns documentary Baseball and the late, great Buck O'Neill. And I would never take anything away from Buck, right, who was just a magical storyteller, right? But if you've seen the documentary The Other Boys of Summer, right, you see 10 or 11 or 12 former Negro League players telling their stories, and they might not quite have Buck's magic, but it's just incredible. I mean, the experience itself is so rich, right? And at this point, there are so few living players who are out there wanting to tell their story that for me, going to this panel and hearing from these four guys, it's as if I'm seeing Buck O'Neill times 4, right? I'm looking at it that way. Every one of these guys, their stories are incredible, whether, you know, one guy's funny and one guy's not funny or whatever, it almost doesn't matter. I mean, we are getting a firsthand account at a piece of history that, let's say 10 years from now, nobody will be able to get anymore. So I am in awe of what the Buck Leonard Association put together. And just the whole thing for me is going to be incredible.
It's a great pitch.
Is that cheating to pick everybody? Is that, you know, can I do that?
No, that's fine. I mean, I think the only correct answer, like Tad has already touched on this, and you touched on it yourself a bit there, Heavy. I'm going to call you Heavy because there's too many Jasons.
Got it. Too confusing.
You know, this is probably, frankly, one of the last times we're ever going to get a chance to hear any of those stories. You know, every time that you get an opportunity to spend any time with, you know, any number of these guys is an opportunity you're getting on borrowed time. So, you know, if there's an opportunity to hear these stories, then you have to take it when you have the chance. If you want to hear it from the source, you know, it's as we know from history, it only takes a generation or two often to completely forget or, you know, entirely rewrite stories, people's stories. So if you want to hear them again from the source, you have a finite number of chances left. So I think it's very important to tell those stories in a way that, you know, people are going to have access to it. Obviously, that is the whole point of this event. The Buck Leonard Association have been working pretty tirelessly to put together. So we'll certainly get the links and the tickets up after the show today or tonight.
So I was going to say, can you watch The Other Boys of Summer on like Amazon? Where's that? Because we can't get it out in the UK. Like we don't ever get any basketball things or baseball stuff are out here. We're pretty much at the mercy of watching all the worst baseball movies there are because it's cheap to get them out this way.
We got every Ken Burns documentary series except baseball on Netflix for a while. Yes. I was sitting waiting month to month, like, right, they've added the West, they've added the Civil War. This is all great. They've added World War II.
Jazz. That's a jazz one, yeah.
Jazz. When are we going to get baseball? Never came, and now none of them are on it anymore.
It's on Amazon.
Is it on Amazon? I don't know.
On Amazon. Yeah, go for Amazon there.
I mean,
I can say with the other Boys of Summer, the way that I watched it, it was a special event that was as a benefit for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, and it had the director Lauren Meyer, Nick Giunte as well was kind of a co-host, and so I just plugged into it that way. I never really searched for it on TV or anything.
Right. No, I remember they showed up on Twitter one day. And I was like, oh, great. This would be a fantastic thing to find out about. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. And that was like, okay, well, I'm not going to think about it. But there must be kicking around somewhere. I'm sure they must have some distribution deal that's going to head out. So we're going to watch it. No, Tad's shaking his head like, no, they're not going anywhere. All right.
Well, I don't know.
You want to fill us in with more than we know?
Well, so the Lauren, I've had the pleasure of speaking with early on. And we were hoping actually to have a private showing for the art community. It just didn't come through because we couldn't get sponsorship. But the way that she's developed that program is specifically to be DEI programming for groups and corporations and businesses. And so that's how she has been really, distributing it is not really the right word. It's been private showings. And so hopefully, after a couple of years maybe of running it as DEI programming only, that it will get wider distribution, because it is a pretty neat piece, and I think more people should be able to see it. So, Lauren, if you're watching,
But here's the good news.
we love it. Yeah.
Seriously. And I mean, that special event I went to, it wasn't free, right? I threw down some money, right? This event, I was thinking about it. If we were going to go see these four gentlemen live and have a moderator as awesome as Ernie Suggs, I mean, I think it would be a couple $100, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I threw down a bit more than the minimum, but I think you can go, I mean, it's virtual now instead, but I mean, I think it's like $10 only. Am I right?
For the
$10 to
webinar?
$60 appears to be the price.
Yeah, the Buck Leonard Association event.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, John, if you allow me to share screen, I'll pull it up here. But yeah, there's a $10 ticket. There's a $10 ticket.
Texting him, it's a good one. Oh, check your messages.
I've also fired the.
I'm getting really good at texting while looking right into the camera. John, I need screen share.
That's part of the pandemic skill set.
So there's a $10 ticket. There is, and that's just a general admission. Here it is on Eventbrite. If you go to Eventbrite and search Buck Leonard Association, it'll come up. There's a $10 GA ticket. There's a $25 ticket, which puts you into the drawing for, at right now, a minimum of, there it is. Look at that. That's a beauty. I love
it. This is the worst one. This is the worst thing you can win. Right here is the Heavy J. All the other ones.
It's just because I haven't edited anything. So $25 gets you into a drawing right now for at least 8 pieces of art. And including a couple of replica baseballs from Jason McKinney of Hall of Fame Replicas, who we hope would be with us tonight. One replica of a Negro American League Baseball and one of the Negro National League Baseball. And then the $60 admission gets you into the art drawing, plus gets you a t-shirt that neither one of us are wearing today. Probably Jason, I know, because I was wearing mine 2 days ago and it's sitting in the laundry basket and it was poor timing on my part. So I'm repping my gray shirt, which was actually made by Robbie Aronson of the Matchsticks as well. So Robbie of the Matchsticks company is the one who's printing up those shirts and distributing them.
Fantastic.
But right now, that's the only place that you can get that t-shirt too. So anyway, there's some exclusive offers. I think I mentioned there's an email going out to Beckett users tomorrow. If you're part of that email blast, there's an exclusive offer for another drawing that is, I'm gonna go grab it.
It's not an NFT, is it?
No.
I was absolutely bamboozled by the concept of NFTs when Jason was trying to explain them to me. I was just like, what? So it's basically a virtual thing that you own part of that doesn't really exist. And he's like, well, not that crudely, but yeah, kind of in that ballpark. And I'm like, what?
I own 3, so I'm ahead of the curve.
So anyway, if you're part of the Beckett email blast that goes out tomorrow, when these came out from Daniel Harine, I bought 2 of them, knowing for sure that there was going to be a great opportunity to give one away. Mm-hmm. So if you're part of that Beckett email blast that goes out tomorrow, there's an exclusive offer for a drawing for this too. This is number 7 of 486. So that's a retired print from Daniel Harine of Popfly. Yeah, good stuff.
I'm going to make sure I send this link out to my folks too, because I remember one day I took a picture in the Buck Leonard shirt and I just had people coming out of the woodwork being like, oh my God, how do I get that shirt? And I think it was while this event was kind of temporarily postponed. Yeah. And so it was kind of this one little stretch where you couldn't really get the shirt. So now that I'm seeing the shirt's still part of the package, I'm going to let people know. And disclaimer, No, you're not going to look as dope as me wearing the shirt. Okay. But yeah, the shirt is awesome. And I know Matchsticks did the print. Is it a triple play design that made it on, or is
So the cool thing about the Buck Leonard Association logo, to me, is that it's another example of the power of community. I'm going to babble a little bit while I try and buy some time to pull up the T-shirt. I know I've got an image of it here somewhere. The Buck Leonard Association logo, back in November, we put out an open call to all the artists in the community.
Yep.
And I think 8 different artists came out and said they'd love to create some designs for the Buck Leonard Association to look at. And the one that they really liked was one by artist Jeff Stone of Enot's Design.
Yep.
And Jeff was able to do a couple of rounds of revision on it, but he just ran out of bandwidth, and so we tagged off to Eric of Triple Play Design, and Eric brought it home, and he really kind of put the last big changes in place, which that their logo, again, I'm trying to find the dang.
While you're looking, I'm going to give a shout out to Garcia Studios. He was having trouble trying to get the link to work for us, and he's finally watching this live. So that'll give you a chance to go and look for stuff there. And yeah, how you doing, buddy? Like, finally got there about a half hour sending you messages back and forth.
Very
We're
nice.
live now.
Well, we're doing shout outs. I want to give a shout out to a guy who followed both myself and Ballcaps and Bagpipes on Twitter earlier, called Mark Joss. I believe he was watching our show earlier with Luke Powell. He's a New York Rangers fan, according to his Twitter bio. So you're one of my people, Mark.
Man, well, Tad looks for the logo, and I'm not a guy that gets excited about logos. I'm going to be honest with you, except that one. It kind of tells a story, and it's just gorgeous. But let me just repeat the shout out to David from Garcia Studios. I think if there was an election in the card art community for ambassador, it may be president, king, emperor, he would win. Nobody does more for the card artists out there than David. Love him. And his work is off the charts.
I can agree. He sent in some stuff for the competition, and I still need to get you guys some time to do that. It's Easter break over here. The kids get 2 weeks, and my time has absolutely disappeared.
I hear you. You know what? I'm a judge. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't want to sound biased. I take it back.
No, it's fine. We've got plenty of entries there. What's really slowing me down is the fact that we told everyone to email us or DM us, and we have like 4 different accounts we're using. And so I'm trying to get them all in one area and just sit there and then go, okay, they're up. Yes. Yeah, I know they're excited. There's been some really good work for this. And we inspired a few people as well. So that was the whole plan. And we'll probably do it again during the playoffs and we'll see what we can do about that. Get some more people inspired.
Speaking of baseball season, how about them Dodgers, Heavy?
I couldn't be happier, man. I am, you know what? It's killing me not to be anywhere near LA because I'm dying to go to a game. But I love the team. And even without arguably our 2 best players, we're in great shape right now. And I think Mookie is coming back maybe even tonight. I'm not sure. And, Cody Bellinger as well has been injured for a few games. But yeah, fantastic team. Just love the guys. And, for me, I was really lucky. So many people don't have a lot they can look to in 2020 and feel like was awesome. For me, not only did I get married, my Dodgers won the World Series. So I'll be good.
Yeah. Well, as long as you put that in the right order. You get
not in that order. No, I'm not going to go there. I got married, my Dodgers won the World Series. That was my 1 and 2.
I'm not going to lie, right? If the Yankees had won the World Series, I became a father at the start of 2020.
Oh.
If the Yankees had won the World Series, it would have been almost neck and neck.
Come on, man. Guys.
It's almost neck and neck. The Yankees would just edge it.
Tad, we're seeing that logo, man. That is it. That is it.
That's the one, yeah. So that logo is based off of one of the pretty iconic photos of Buck kind of stepping out of the Grays dugout. And we modified it a little bit. Eric modified it actually quite a bit to make it look like he's kneeling, and instead of his teammates being behind him, kind of the community. So we're I think really happy with the logo, and the more that we look at it, the just more you love it. It really does represent a whole lot. The one change that might be coming up is switching around the words at the bottom: explore, play, preserve. We might reorder that to play, explore, preserve long term. That's an idea that Brian threw at me the other night in a text. So it's all in flux for the most part, but the brand is had a substantial makeover since November, thanks to volunteers.
Yeah, what jumps out at me and why I fell in love with it. I mean, I love Buck Leonard, and I really love what the association's about. But I feel like when I look at the logo, it's Buck Leonard saying, you know what, man, it's not even about me, it's about the kids. Like, the kids are kind of bigger than Buck and kind of have top billing in the logo. And I mean, you guys know me, a lot of the card art I do, it's all about charity and, helping out good causes. But I mean, I really think this event is a must, because you know what, even if you somehow fail to show up, the money that you're paying is just going to help kids afford to play baseball. Like,
right.
You know what, even if there was no event, that's something I'd throw money at. And in this case, we get an awesome event. But what this association does, and I'm going to, if it's okay, I'm going to give a shout out to Josh Gibson Foundation as well, because they're kind of cut from the same cloth. Like, you make a donation to the Buck Leonard Association or the Josh Gibson Foundation, your money is going to amazing things, and pretty directly too. There aren't a lot of stops in between, man. You'd make a donation, great things happen.
Yeah, we've talked so much about preserving the legacy of these great players as athletes, and we've talked at great length with both the families. Actually, we've spoken to Brian, and we've spoken to Sean on this very show in the last wee while. But then you see the foundations and the association and all the other stuff that they do. I mean, look at this. You've got the work to do with kids in particular, and the chance to. It's like you're getting the chance to help these amazing organizations do their great work, and for your money, you're getting such an extraordinary and once in a lifetime gift, as we've covered. And in return, it's just something else.
Yeah. I'm pausing on this page here because it's actually a reminder that we had eight artists submit logos for the Buck Leonard Association, and there were so many good ones that at the end there were three that wrote. She's like, "Is there a way that we could use all three?" And I said, "Well, no, but you know what? Randy's, which is the one right here,
Love it,
could be used just for the baseball association." So this logo here for the Buck Leonard Youth Baseball Association, RBI Youth Baseball Association, was created by Randy Stalinas. So the great thing, the thing that's most impressive about the Buck Leonard Association, I think, is that that it's built on the legacy of one of the best baseball players who ever walked this planet. Period.
Some rather intense looking young men here. I don't think
well, you know what, John, they
be too much of a rush to play against them. They look like some game.
This is something to be aware of, John. Honestly, you don't see a lot of smiles. On kids that come from backgrounds that these kids come from. When they're out playing, you'll see some smiles on their faces, which is what's amazing about what Buck Leonard Association does, is they give kids a chance to go out and have fun where maybe a lot of fun doesn't necessarily exist in their everyday life. So that's something I honestly noticed too, kind of early on, starting to look with them. There's some grim looking faces, and it takes that perspective that of course they are. So anyway, but the association is built on the legacy of this great man. But frankly, what Rose Hunter and Brian Patterson, and it started with Rose and her mom, Buck's wife, what they've done is created something even better. Frankly, they've taken the legacy of one of the best baseball players in the history of mankind, and they've made it better by not stopping at baseball, by making sure that they create programs that will engage these kids and help them, expose them to skills that will really matter for the rest of their lives. And not just that, but to create programs where they can take their little brothers and sisters in and do some programming and educational programming with them while they're watching baseball. So that's the thing that's so impressive, and I get goosebumps seriously talking about it. It's that they didn't stop with baseball. They kept going. And frankly, what Rose's background is early childhood development. So, she doesn't necessarily know how far it is between the bases, but she can tell you, she is the exact person to tell you how to get through to these kids, in the areas that really matter the most.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. I mean, so many people struggle with the question, how do I make a difference, right? What's my role in making the world a better place? And I don't want to take away anybody's like more creative path, but like, honestly, when there are organizations like this doing great things, sometimes literally make a donation to them, write a check, and you may have done more to make a difference than like, something that would have been way harder to do. You know what I mean? Like there's so many benefits, Tad, since you brought the art community together. I've met so many awesome people, but I actually think connecting me to the Buck Leonard Association, even in a tiny way, is probably at the very top of the list, because it really is just awesome what they do. And it's so easy to help them out, and they appreciate it. You know what I mean? They notice. You make a donation, you're going to get a thank you or something like that. And
Here's something that I've come to preach, and you hit the nail on the head, Jason. It's that the people who are closest to the problems are closest to the solutions. And the Buck Leonard Association has been closest to the problem and doing everything they can to scrape together the resources to allow them to create some solutions. The one thing that they've done over the last 20 years is to build trust with their community. And as a marketer, I know that if I'm trying to penetrate a new market on with any new product or service, I'm going to spend the majority of my time trying to win people's trust. Before they're going to buy my product, I've got to earn their trust. The Buck Leonard Association has built the trust of their community for 20 years, and sorry.
Yeah.
All they need is people to support them.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is something to get emotional about, because the work they do is so incredible and it's so easy to help, but, and that's one of the nice things I think we're doing, is we're maybe shining a light so some people can learn about the work they're doing, who normally wouldn't know, but, yeah, it's really amazing.
I get pretty fired up. One of their board members is on the Housing Authority in Rocky Mount and has, I think, repeatedly given Rose direction on which neighborhoods not to go to. They go door to door, offering their services to families in their community, and she's been repeatedly told where not to go, and she ignores them. Every time. She says she can't be afraid of her own people. Yeah. This is an admirable organization. They've put together some really amazing programming, and we're trying to drum up some support for them.
Yeah. So I think it's imperative whether you can make it to the virtual webinar or not. I mean, the pricing is so affordable, and the association and the work that they do is so valuable that, I mean, there's really no reason not to fire in the equivalent of, I think, £7.50 in UK money to at least help with their efforts and what they're doing. And then, like we've said already, you get the added bonus of, if you feel like it, watching, living artifacts who are, were involved in such a forgotten time in the history of baseball, and they get to tell their story and you get to hear it. And it should be something that we feel honoured and flattered to get the chance to do. And so many, all too often it feels like they're just kind of ignored and sort of forgotten about. So it's very important that we try to get as many people involved in that webinar as possible.
Well said, John.
Yeah. You can almost count on me to cry.
Well, you know what? Quite frankly, even within the last couple of nights in the United States of America, it's been once again thrown in the world's face like a glass bottle, just how far the United States still has to go when it comes to race relations and black kids up to black adults being able to drive or walk around their own neighbourhoods safely without being potentially murdered by people who are supposed to be officers of the law. Quite honestly, without getting too far into the realm of the serious, I mean, there's really only so far that you can go without addressing it. Derek Chauvin is on trial at the moment for murdering George Floyd last year, which is what he did. He murdered that man, quite frankly. It's been hundreds of years, at this point, hundreds of years, that the African Americans can't feel safe in their own home country. These ball players, they just play the game, and they were the lucky ones in a way, and their legacy is largely forgotten about. And it's not fair.
Man, John, well said. I dare say I feel like you have a perspective of understanding our history and our society here in the States better than maybe a majority of Americans even.
As sad as it is, I think that, a lot of it is like African American kids are probably taught so little about what their own heritage actually is. Like, how many African American kids idolize Negro League ball players nowadays? How many African Americans are growing up being taught about who their heroes should really be? And it's like, you can't just ignore the story, and it seems like that's what America all too often does. It's not fair, it's not right, and so it's time that the story is told properly, because the story of Negro League baseball is the story of Black America. It's the story of America as a whole. Baseball is politics. Baseball is race relations. It tells the story of America in a way that no other form of entertainment ever can. So to get the chance to hear these ball players talk is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that people should take.
So well said, John.
Yes, sir. Yep. That's the thing, that's been really, there's been so many amazing things about this whole project from the start, and so many layers to it, and absolutely the best thing to come out of it, I think, is this this heightened level of allyship that everybody feels that's part of this community, is that we really do understand that baseball is just a common thread that can tie us together and allow us to have some difficult conversations. but it's, the purpose here is not to glorify the game of baseball.
Yeah, baseball is in the background all the time. It's always there in the background of America's story for the last century plus. It's about 150 years now. It's been in the background of America's story. It's been there through 2 world wars, through several pandemics, through riots, through various different Republican regimes and Democrat regimes and other wars and everything else, but baseball's always there. There's always a part of the baseball story that is intrinsically linked to every major event that's happened in American history in the last 150 years. And it can be a unifying force like no other at times. And we've seen it. We've seen it in our lifetime. We've seen it throughout its history.
Yeah, it's funny though, John. I got to say, I kind of question the times where we've seen it, because we really haven't. Even though like World War II, right? Or I guess World War II was pre integration. Even if you even look at 2001, and the fact that they still sing "God Bless America" in the 7th inning, which I think is an absolute ridiculous. But did we really bring the country together when there was, when in 2001 there was maybe 6 to 8% of the players in the league were African Americans? Were we really bringing the country together? We were bringing the country together from a lot of people's perspective, from a lot of other people's perspective. They're like, screw you. It's not America's pastime. It's your pastime. My pastime's trying to survive.
You raise a really good point there, Tad, and I think you're absolutely right. That's a very good point. It's all too often easy to. It just goes to show right there how easy it is.
Yeah.
And, we've talked off air a number of times about the effect that integration actually had on the Negro Leagues, which was not a great effect for a vast number of players. A lot of players lost their livelihoods with the end of the Negro Leagues. It's a tough one.
Yeah, exactly. The minor league teams, all of the teams that they kind of felt the pressure to integrate. How many of them did it completely begrudgingly?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of guys that never got their chance. There's think about how many mediocre guys there are in Major League Baseballs, in Major League Baseball terms, right? Because every one of them is better than the 4 of us put together. But think about the number of mediocre baseball players that there are on, every roster's got, way more mediocre guys than really good long-term ball players. So now think about what Major League Baseball looked 10 years post-integration. The majority of the guys playing Major League Baseball were still white. There weren't a lot of mediocre African-American black ball players post-integration. You had to be a superstar to make it.
Yeah.
The rest of the guys, if they got moved from the Negro Leagues, they got buried in the minor leagues and never saw the majors. Right. So the story, it really does fascinate me. There's always something under the surface, but it's going to be really interesting again, to hear from these guys who played in the Negro Leagues afterwards. Why weren't they on a minor league team?
I think with so much of history, but definitely with baseball, there's always at least 2 sides or 2 aspects of the story. And so when we think of integration and Jackie Robinson, right, that feels like a positive, but then it's also the death of the Negro Leagues, which obviously from another perspective is a pretty big negative. And in the same way, I think we can look at Jackie Robinson and integration, and we can, let's say, feel good about ourselves as Americans. We can see it as a feel good, but we can also look and say, just how difficult was it for him, right? And just how many of his contemporaries deserved that same chance and didn't get it for various reasons. how many players who followed Jackie Robinson just had a hell of a time trying to make it. And I'm not talking about 1948 or 1949. There's a tremendous book called After Jackie. And one of the stories that stuck out with me was Dick Allen. It was the 1960s, the early 1960s. And Dick Allen was absolutely a second-class citizen in the way he was treated, not just by much of America, but even by his teammates, right? Even by management, right? And so, and I believe the story continues through today. I don't think it's been problem solved, but I mean, it's an interesting thing because, baseball has so much power that there's as much mythology as truth as we think about the history of the game. And I think in the story of Jackie, there's certainly a mythology, and he certainly has the level of a mythological hero in terms of his character and his achievements. But of course, whenever we're dealing with mythology, there's always a lot of truth that we're not looking at. And so, it's one of the neat things, I suppose, about, being a fan of the game and having books, and in our case with the Buck Leonard Association, firsthand experiences that we can learn from, is that there really is always so much more to the story. And as I say this, I cannot take my eyes off this beautiful piece with Jackie Robinson and Martin Luther King and Buck O'Neill. And it's just, on some level, you cannot disconnect those three men. And, John, you said it well. You're a little bit channeling James Baldwin. I think he has a quote. He says something to the effect of, the history of the black man in America is the history of America itself. And I think you came pretty close. And I think Bob Kendrick once, when I was on tour at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, said something like, the history of the Negro Leagues is the history of baseball, right? These are things that we can think of as separate, but when we see them as connected, or when we see them as part of a whole, the story is really that much more powerful.
And Tad, who is that wonderful piece by? Which artist is responsible for that?
That piece is by by Courtney Wall.
I am in love with that piece. I want to win that one.
Yeah, Courtney,
I
believe, I think will be with us next Tuesday.
Planned, like you said, she'll be with us next week. So
we'll
be
live
really next week with Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney's done some really, really cool stuff. You know what? In fact, I really would have loved to have had her on tonight too. I think that Courtney and Jason are two peas in a pod. They've done a lot of, they've both raised a ton of money for charity. But yeah, Courtney's done some really cool stuff. She does a lot of really great football stuff. She was real busy during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, her work is absolutely nuts. I'm kind of the Bernie Sanders of the card charity money raising community, because my average donation is $27. Some of these heavyweights, they're able to do a little more per piece. But I do have to say, guys, I gotta get my wife to the airport, so I may need.
We'll wrap it up. So.
It's pretty much time to close.
Yeah, this has been a good one.
Yeah, why don't we very quickly? Can we get that on full screen?
Yeah, we'll get Heavy J's card on full screen, and then we'll let him go, and we can wrap it up, and we can talk about the rest of the stuff there.
That is not me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Heavy J, it is always an absolute pleasure to speak with you again. Congratulations.
I love you guys. Thank you for everything you're doing for this, Tad, yourself as well. And I can't wait. A little less than 2 weeks away for that panel.
Come back sometime. You can talk about Project 70, that obsession you've had this year.
We can talk for hours about Project 70. That's easy to be filled up there.
All right, take care, everybody.
Bye, Heavy J. See you later.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
All right, we're going to wrap it.